Hi, and welcome to Podcash, the portable professional development podcast from Cash. My name's Dawn, and I'm the editor of Cash Alumni, the fastest growing professional network of current and future care and education practitioners. You can join us for free at cashalumni.org.uk and get access to articles from subject specialists, careers advisors, access to job vacancies, and our member benefits scheme.
My name is Schnel Hanson from Developing the Inner You. I focus on wellbeing across the board in a number of sectors. The care sector, focusing on the wellbeing for teams and organisations. So we look at different levels. We've got organisational level, working with directors and board members, and then we focus on how do we engage with teams. And then from that is looking at the individuals.
That's really interesting. One of the things that we found with Cash Alumni and with our membership, a lot of who are working within care and early years education where they're providing care but to a different audience, is that practitioners within the care space are rubbish at looking after themselves. My theory is that people who care so much about other people and are about other people's well-being sometimes feel guilty for taking time for them and don't necessarily understand the benefits of it. How are you experiencing working with that audience on well-being?
There are a number of courses that I've designed. It's about being a mindful leader and the benefits that mindfulness has in the workplace. And that can be applied across the board. So, what is a mindful leader? Being a mindful leader shows your workforce employees that you have an interest in their well-being, and the aim is about providing a more productive and comfortable working environment. So working with directors, HR, is about coming up with a strategy that we can address well-being across the board. So right from onboarding activities, from recruitment. So some people say, why should I worry about mindfulness in my business? Studies have shown that offering employees avenues to support their mental health can improve mental well-being. It's resulted in 31% less sick days, and creating a supportive mental well-being atmosphere can help boost staff productivity and happiness. And this in turn can improve staff retention and employee output. So there are some huge benefits around well-being. And given this current climate of COVID-19, I think, people returning back to work, managers looking at their strategies, I think well-being is going to be at the forefront of their mind.
I hope so. I think that there has always within care been that tendency to sort of rally through sickness rather than actually taking time to get well before coming back to it, because there is that sense of duty to service users. Have you looked at anything about how well-being actually benefits the people that receive care from people working within the care sector? Is there a demonstrable benefit to the service user of staff being looked after better?
Yeah, sure. You've got you focus on the nutrition, focus on the health, and any kind of making staff aware about any kind of mental health problems that service users might have, or perhaps themselves. So it is about serving their needs and making sure that we meet these specific needs. So finding solutions to deal with not just their well-being, but their overall being. Is the job right for them? Are the hours right? Can they do the job? Is there stress outside? So I know there's a lot of employee assistance programs as well that staff can actually speak in confidence to someone about perhaps some of their stress pains.
How do things work at the minute? I mean, do you find that without that sort of support from training or from different stuff, that there isn't that focus, that people aren't necessarily taking time for well-being?
Perhaps end of 2019, working with some employers, some organisations see it as a huge investment, but actually if you turn it around, if you do invest and you do put a strategy together, there are real benefits. So it could be that you have fruits available in reception for staff or for service users. So mindful eating plays a big part. Is there a lunch canteen accessible for staff? Do you have, if it's in the care setting as a care home perhaps, or as a nursery, are there any kind of like meditation sessions or yoga sessions that you could introduce to service users? So there are a number of activities that are inexpensive, and it's about thinking about what can we do now, and actually, who is skilled in our workforce to actually carry out these activities.
I love that idea that staff and service users could do some sort of yoga or mindfulness together, and that there could be that focus on nice pieces of ways for people to unwind and to do some gentle movement and sort of mindfulness stuff in that sort of setting. How easy has that been to implement for people?
There's definitely a buy-in from directors that we now need to address wellbeing, especially with COVID-19. As we phase back into work, the frontline staff, it's about how do we keep within the 2 metre distance and still carry out some of these activities. So, for example, a charity that I'm working with, they do yoga sessions online for service users. So it's an investment of laptops, but actually they're able to reach a wider audience. So it's about promoting wellbeing internally, making it become the language of everyday use. If you look at it, one of the activities that we encourage staff is awareness of breathing. A practice to help clear the mind. It's about not making people feel stressed. I mean, this current climate is quite stressful. So just the gentle exercise of breathing, walking, meditation, or group exercise can be really good for individuals and in return for the workforce. So as part of being a mindful leader, we've started to introduce some key methods to employees that will give them a number of options as to how to incorporate mindfulness approach. The first one being is a mindful eating. So it's a form of meditation that listens to your body to identify what it needs from a nutrition perspective. So, as care providers, we can look at our menu choices for our service users, making sure that there is a balanced meal. And this in return empowers individuals to understand their body's true cravings, improve their overall health, whilst they're avoiding food that can actually lower motivation. So it's about having the right choices. Another step that we focus on is body scan meditation. So what we mean by that, it looks at the focus of the present moment, helping individuals to focus on their emotions, prevent stress taking over their body. So at this current climate with COVID-19, there is apprehension about, should I go back to work? Is there PPE equipment? So staff are going to feel quite stressed in these environment times. So we want to look at, how do we keep within the 2 meters distance while delivering a good service. Awareness of breathing is really important. As we practice breathing, it's actually it kind of builds up people's resilience against stressful situations, and it helps people to feel in control. And then we've got walking meditation. So, can we create a rota where staff can go out and do walking meditation? Can we do that on a rota basis? Can we do it with service users, bear in mind of the 2 metre distance? So a number of inexpensive activities that we can encourage care providers to do.
That sounds great. And there were a few things that you mentioned there that were sort of really interesting. There are a couple of authors that work with Cash Alumni called Stephen Mordew and Louise Mercier, and they're both huge proponents of diet and exercise in terms of overall well-being and mindfulness, and just really those different components of looking after yourself. So it was really interesting to hear you talk about all of them as part of that system of support. In terms of eating and that sort of mindful eating stuff, I thought it was really interesting that you said that part of that was teaching people to listen to their bodies and sort of understand what it was that their bodies wanted. I know a lot of people probably don't understand a huge amount about how that works and how cravings are signals, because there's a lot of sort of clouding of that natural listening to our bodies done by we're trying to understand sort of calories and dieting and all of the different aims people have got. Are there any sort of bits of that you can share in terms of listening to the body? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's around, if you do feel tired or you do feel burnt out, listening to your body is, these are, could be like a small trigger. Perhaps you've forgotten something. It might be that you're getting a bit of a migraine. Just stop and think, have I drank a glass of water today? Have I had any fruits? Or you perhaps spending too long at the laptop, or have you had a break? So listening to your body in terms of it's saying, I'm really tired today. I think one of the key things that sets you up for a good day is sleep. And sleep is so central, and I think some people take that for granted. So whilst it sets you up for a good day, it makes you more productive. So, it's about really getting to know yourself in terms of your workload. You perhaps taken on too much work. So there's a number of key things that we can encourage staff to do. And I think it is, for me, essentially that my clients, it's about listening to those triggers and actually taking that time out for yourself to make sure you've got a balanced meal, and there is mindfulness meditation as well.
And that sounds really interesting, especially when you talk about sleep. I know for definite that when I don't get enough sleep, I definitely want more rubbish food the next day, because my body just wants that sort of instant energy that you get from sugar. But I should have probably listened to my body 12 hours before that when it was telling me I should have gone to bed instead. The breathing stuff, I think, is also really interesting. I've actually made a public commitment this morning to start trying the Wim Hof method from Monday, because I thought that the 1st of June was the perfect time to start a sort of a well-being challenge for myself, with the 1st of June being a Monday. So a lot of that is about obviously breathing and resilience building through breath and through sort of cold exposure and sort of building on those pillars of breathing and nutrition to really support well-being. Are there any other wins that you know of for breathing other than sort of that mindfulness bit? What else can breathing support?
There is the physical activities. So you've got exercise, which is very key. For me, one of the things that I delivered at NCFE courses, it was around independent living skills. It's very popular for the care sector. And what I found is choosing the modules for the service users. This is particularly in a care home. It was about healthy eating. We chose a model around that. So we encourage service users to pick choices out from the menu. And we also looked at developing their selves, again, developing their strengths. What was it that they like doing? So if it's football, or if it's tennis, so it's looking at what activities can I do, or what things haven't I not done for a long time? Perhaps it's painting. So it's just building up your interest and really taking note of, whilst we are in COVID-19, returning back to work will be a phased, will take place in a phased timeline, but it's actually making sure our well-being is taken care of.
A lot of the people who are working in care obviously haven't really been off work, so they've been working. A lot of providers, for example, in care homes and providing domiciliary care, they're still needed. So they've been operating fairly as usual in terms of providing the support that they do and going to work every day. Do you think that it's possible that we need to be more mindful of well-being than we ever have before, because those who are still working haven't necessarily had time to process what's going on around us at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Some people have mentors as well. Something good maybe to, perhaps a coach, but it's definitely going to be a paradigm shift for this current climate that we're living in. And what I mean by that is we now need to look at and examine, which we call a self-assessment. So self-assess, what am I good at, and how to kind of address your well-being and maybe come out of habits of eating junk food, perhaps. So it is about reflecting and digesting what's happening around us, and how can we actually develop good habits and making sure that our well-being is being looked after.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you said something really interesting there as well when you said that now is sort of a good time to take stock and to look at the food that we're eating and the way that we're getting activity. I think when this all started, there was a tendency to sort of think of it as everything's weird and it's all up in the air, and treat it as a bit of a holiday. So everyone sort of broke open the wine and the chocolate, and it was a little bit of a free-for-all on the nutrition front for at least the first few weeks of everything being the way it is sort of internationally. Do you think that as lockdown wears on, people are starting to think a little bit more about stuff like nutrition and exercise, and to try and start establishing healthier routines?
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. I think the first couple of weeks, everyone, it was okay, and perhaps for me, it's COVID has brought home the basics of life. So okay, we need to cook. So when's the last time we took time out to actually cook a nutritious meal? So whilst it's very busy in the kitchen, literally breakfast, lunch, dinner every day, I think it's made people more aware about, I didn't really used to do that, and can I do this a bit different? So, just sharing recipes with friends, families, I think is something that I've done more of, and actually taking time out and making sure I do have a good night's sleep has been really important. So whilst the COVID-19 has brought about some kind of anxiety for some people, I think it's made people think about the basic necessities. So I think it's well-being is going to be really important for everybody.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, like talking about the way that lockdown affected everyone's choices with food and with alcohol and all of the things that people threw caution to the wind about for the first few weeks. What really struck me is that there was a bit of a shift change sort of partway through, where generally there was an increased conversation about well-being in terms of the impacts of stress and nutrition and exercise on our immune system and on our ability to fight off illness. So the pillars of things like breathing and sleep and getting some walk and meditation in, and the different bits of nutritional stuff, I think are a really helpful platform for wellbeing, to support people, especially as things start to return to a point where people are interacting with more and more people during the course of their day. I mean, is there anything that people can implement to help with that? What would be if people can only change one thing? If you're stuck in that cycle where you eat rubbish food because you had a bad night's sleep, and then you can't do exercise because you're so tired and you've just fueled yourself up with rubbish, and you're stuck in that sort of catch-22 of which bit do you change first? Which bit would you say that people could make the best sort of start with, so that they've got the ability to then tackle the other parts of that?
They always look at things as the heart, mind and body. And I think the first thing that perhaps people can look at is exercise for mental health. Whilst mental health is on the rise and there might be some stigma about that, it does actually bring about stress, anxiety and possibly depression as well. And it might be that there are people that loved ones that struggle with mental health. The benefits of exercise for mental health, to have a conversation about well-being, any perhaps blocks that you might feel that I need help with. Happy to have that conversation.
And whereabouts is that, Schnel? Is that on LinkedIn or Twitter, or where is it that you can be found?
Yeah, so it can be found on websites. It's www.developingtheinnerU.co.uk, or it's Schnel Hanson on LinkedIn.
What I'll do is I'll link those places in the description below, so if anybody is listening and wants to find Schnel but doesn't want to go and do all of the looking for yourself, you can scroll down and look at the writing underneath the episode, and you'll find a link to Schnel's LinkedIn profile, and also a link to the website.
Yes, fantastic. At the moment, I'm doing a kind of discovery call, and that is about just 30 minutes long, where I just go through a SWOT analysis of the SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So it's a brief discussion, 30 minutes long, about well-being, and using the wheel of well-being to help someone make changes in their life. So happy to receive calls and coach people for that 30 minutes.
Exciting. Thank you very much, and thanks loads for your time. It's been really, really lovely to talk to you, and really, really interesting.
And thanks to you at home. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Podcast. Don't forget, for more great content tailored to everyone in the care and education sectors, you can join our membership network, cashalumni.org.uk. It's free to join, and you'll get access to articles from subject specialists, careers advice, job vacancies and our member benefits scheme. If you'd like to feature on a future episode of Podcast, please get in touch with us through the contact details on the Cash Alumni website. Until next time, take care.